The story of a people is told best by those who live it out daily. And when the history of that community is informative, inspirational, and insightful, it should then be shared with the world. The Clio Exchange does that.
I said, yeah. I didn't know anything about who. All I knew that Georgia was south and that our people had a rough time down there. And he said he's coming and he needs to stay at the guest lodge, the guest quarters in our dormitory. And it was a freshman dormitory, and I was, as a part of my work, I was director of the dormitory. And so I said, be happy to have him, because he's going to be a preacher. He said, yeah, great, send him here. And he came in at about, 8 o'clock, and about 5 a.m. the next morning, both of us went to bed, because he got to telling me about, I was fascinated about him being a son of a preacher. He was telling me how fascinated he was with Mahatma Gandhi and his belief that we could combine the ethics of Jesus and the tactics of Mahatma Gandhi and end this awful thing called racial segregation and discrimination in America. And when he preached a little sermon called Quiet Power. And he said, power is not what we sometimes think it is. He took me to the mountain where Elijah was there complaining that he was the only one left. And God took him on the mountain and said, look, I'm going to give you teacher a lesson. He said, and there was a great earthquake, but God wasn't in the earthquake. There was a great fire, but God wasn't in the fire. And then there was a still small voice in which God spoke to him saying, you think you're something. He said, you're not the only one left. I've got 7,000 in Israel whose knees have not yet bent to Baal, no, whose lips have not yet kissed his idols. So you get up from here, go hook up with them. And when I heard that, he said we can do the same thing nonviolently.
Was he still as passionate about that and you when it came to the March on Washington?
Oh boy, by that time we'd had so much experience with what God can do. One was love your enemies and do good to them that curse you and pray for those who despitefully use you. And nonviolence in the spirit of Jesus is, I love you. And he told a group of us, by that time I had been a little trained, so I knew a little of theology. He said, no, we're not going to hate these people. We're going to tell white people we love you. Beat us with your bitter cuts, but we keep on loving you. Knock us down with fire hoses, we keep on loving you because we want what's best for you. And in the end, we're going to win our rights and win you in the process. People said, this man is crazy, but it was the philosophy of Jesus. And I stood in the East Room of the White House on July 2nd, 1964, and watched Lyndon Johnson sign a piece of paper because we had raised the consciousness and pricked the conscience of enough people in the country. They said to their members of Congress, don't let your name show up on my ballot in November of '64 if you haven't done something about what Martin Luther King Jr. and them had been asking. And they're right. And we got the bill. And those, it was a function of those who were opposed to us, having had this appeal to their moral center, said it's not right.